Hello, 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 and welcome to Starting the Day the Right Way, 5-minute devotion for March 16th, 2021. All right, so we're just coming off a 3-day weekend this weekend, and my son did not want to get out of bed, right? I went in there around 6:15. He's like, Daddy, I don't want to move. I just want to stay in my bed for 4 more hours. Because yesterday he caught up on some sleep and he was in bed till 9:30. So I said, I know. Come on, we got a short week. Daddy's got to work, you got to work, but the weekend will be here before you know it. So we got him up, we got him to school. He was glad to make it and whatnot. And so, but what I started thinking was just how quickly things are going, right? So this summer, I'm going to be 50 years old. 50 years old, right? So I dug into Psalm 39, and I'm going to read it here in a second. But I started thinking, I said, all right, if we have 100 years, not all of us do, but let's say God gives us 100 years, and then I like to break things backwards, right? So 100 years is equal to 1,200 months, is equal to 5,200 weeks, is equal to 36,400 days, is equal to 872,600 hours, is equal to 3.14 billion seconds. Okay. Now, again, that's on 100 years. So if we're given 75, that's going to be less. If we're given 101, that's going to be a little bit more. All right. So where are you on your scale? Obviously, the older we start to think, I've noticed the more, me personally, I start thinking, okay, what have I accomplished? If I were to pass today, what would people remember me for? Would my family remember me? And so, I got led to Psalm 39. And here's what it says, Psalm 39, verses 4-6. It says, Lord, remind me how brief my time on earth will be. Remind me that my days are numbered, how fleeting my life is. You have made my life no longer than the width of my hand. My entire lifetime is just a moment to you. At best, each of us is but a breath. We are merely moving shadows, and all our busy rushing ends in nothing. Verse 12 says, For I am your guest, a traveler passing through as my ancestors were before me. Now I look at my son, and 9 years have gone by like that, in the blink of an eye, right? And the next 9 years, I'll be at his graduation in another 9 years, if God allows me to, right? And time just flies, right? And we get caught up in the busyness of life. And here's the real question. Are you busy doing God's work, or are you busy doing your work? Right? Because we are just guests, right? That's what verse 12 says. For I am your guest, a traveler passing through as my ancestors were before me. Okay. So what mark are we leaving on the world? Are we leaving a mark that is man's mark, or are we leaving a mark that's God's mark? Now, of course, if we are blessed enough to get married and blessed enough to have kids, that's one way of making our mark and extending our legacy. Right? Another way is really asking God, am I in the right profession? Am I doing what you've called me to do? And many of us, that answer will be yes. And then the next question should be, well, what else do you want me to do within my profession to bring your kingdom here on earth, right? Now, I'm in teaching now, but this happens to be my 5th career. All right. I didn't start asking God, what career do you want me in, until, my late 20s, early 30s, when I met my wife. So she enabled me, and through conversations and prayer, I ended up becoming a teacher. But I wouldn't have known that if I didn't really ask God, right? We're living in South Carolina. Why? Because we inquired, we prayed. We used to live in New York. So we prayed, and God told us to move to South Carolina. So that's what I'm just saying. These are things that we really need to press into God. We only have a certain amount of time that is allotted to us, and we're going to be held accountable eventually for that time, right? Obviously, growing up and youth, sometimes it's time wasted, but it's also valuable time because it makes us who we are, our experiences, right? Not all of us come out of middle school and high school geniuses and making the most out of our time. Okay, hopefully, as we become adults, the quality of our time is better spent, and even more better spent if it's spending doing what God has called us to do. He has a specific job for each and every one of us. Some of us miss it, some of us don't, some of us find it late, some of us find it early. Okay, my question is, where are you right now? Are you doing specifically what God has called you to do? And if you are, awesome, keep doing it. Okay, keep on asking God, how can I do it better? Open more doors for me. I want to expand your kingdom. Okay, but if you're feeling like you're not doing what God has called you to do, keep on knocking on that door. Keep on asking. Okay, because once we're born, that clock is counting backwards, right? We only have a certain amount of time. Don't lose it. All right, I hope it was a blessing. If you want to check out the rest of Psalm 39, it's very full of more information, but I just really wanted to focus in on those few verses there. All right, have a great day. God bless.